All right, we'll have another installment of Hilchos Pesach before Shabbos. So we were talking about kidneys. There are several other halachas that you should know about kidneys. Kidneys as well should not be eaten on Erev Pesach, but we are slightly more lenient on Erev Pesach in case of pressing circumstances. And therefore, if you do have a pressing circumstance, you can call and we can usually weasel out a heter. This is a common shaila is. I don't want to use the I don't want to use a situation where it's a pressing circumstance and then you need it for a stomach ache, because anyways that might be mutter. But let's say a minor stomach ache, not like crazy. So I wouldn't be matter on Pesach to eat rice, but an Erev Pesach probably we could be makel if you need it for that type of reason. Another halacha is that if somebody has another heter of kidneys, is that generally if a person eats treif on Pesach, if a person cooks, or let's say he mixes up meat and milk, so you have to kasha the pot. Even if the pot is eina ben yoima, you still have to kasha the pot. However, on kidneys, we're making with eina ben yoima. So let's say somebody by mistake cooked kidneys. They put they had a Sephardi come over or whatever. He had kidneys at the table. So then or let's say, even better, you go over to a Sephardi, you eat over by a Sephardi. Obviously not this year because nobody's eating over by anybody's house, but you eat over by a Sephardi, and you're concerned that perhaps the utensils that you're using, or the plates that you're using, or the pots that the food was cooked in, had kidneys cooked in it. So the halacha is that we're not machmir on that, and we assume that all kalim are eina ben yoimai, and there's a heter by kidneys to be makel on kalim that are eina ben yoimai. So as long as and since we assume that most kalim are eina ben yoimai, therefore you are technically allowed to go over and eat by a Sephardi's house. There's another concept called gebruchts. Gebruchts is any type of matzah, kosher matzah, that may have come in contact with water. So for example, matzah balls made out of matzah meal. Any type of those, many cakes that have matzah meal inside of it include mixing the matzah meal with some sort of water or liquid medium, and that makes it gebruks. There are many people who are makbid on gebruks and they don't eat gebruks. They will some people go to extreme measures to even drying the moror from any water on it, so that when it finally touches, you make a kairach, you make that sandwich during the Seder night, it doesn't have any water touch the matzah. There are people who are very makbid on it, and more like because minig Yisrael Torah, and they're very makbid on their minhagim, which is a good thing. And there are people who do not have that minig, and depending on how you're brought up, whether or not you should accept upon yourself that minig, whether or not you should have that minig. If a person has no minhag that he knows from his family, I would suggest you do not need to be machmir on gebruks. A person is makbid on gebruks, whether or not you have to be makbid on kalim, it's a machlekes. There's no such thing as a machlekes minhagim. So some have the minhag that they're makbid even on kalim, some have the minhag that they're not makbid on kalim. Again, if you don't know your minhag, I would say that you do not have to be worried about eating at somebody's house that might eat gebruks. As long as you don't eat gebruks, you're fine. That would be, even if you have a minhag of not eating gebruks, you don't have to worry about the kalim. And of course, if you know your minhag is to be worried about the kalim, then you should be concerned. And you can't eat at that person's house if that's your family minhag. You're eating items that were made in kalim that do not have gebruks in it. With regards to a lady who got married, so obviously until she's married, she keeps her family's minhagim. The general mahalach in Klal Yisrael is that when a lady gets married, she is makabel upon herself her husband's minhagim. And even when she was a youngster and doing her father's minhagim, was with the understanding that she will eventually go to her husband's minhagim, and therefore she's allowed to go ahead and be makabel upon herself her husband's minhagim from then on. It was never a kabbalah forever; it was always a kabbalah till marriage, and therefore it's fine to go ahead and be makabel her husband's minhagim. You want to know if there's a dispute, if let's say they're not sure, I'm not being Makam husband, you have to come to a Rav. It's not so much that you have to go after your husband's minhagim. Nevertheless, generally that's what's the accepted minhag in Klal Yisrael, is that we do what the husband was brought up with. So if he had gebruk, if he's makbid on gebruks, then the girl coming from a house who ate kitnius and ate gebruks must now start being mekabel her husband's minhagim of no kitnius, no gebruks, and vice versa as well. She could continue to be mekel if she goes ahead and she marries even a Sephardi of kitnius. All right, have a great Shabbos and steig away.